Remember the smooth, handsome faces that sang all those 90s slow jams? What in the world happened to them? Time has not been kind. We are counting down 20 R&B stars who aged terribly and the secret, shocking stories behind their decline. One of them even gave up $10 million to become a pastor. 1. Bobby Brown. When Bobby Brown first hit the scene, he was the definition of cool. As a member of New Edition and then as a solo superstar, he had the moves, the voice, and the look. He was the original king of R&B and married one of the biggest singers on the planet, Whitney Houston. To put it mildly, he had it all. But even in his prime, his lifestyle was out of control. The constant partying and his personal struggles started to take a toll. Fast forward to today, and Bobby Brown is almost unrecognizable. His face is often very swollen and his eyes look heavy and tired. The years of living on the edge are written all over his features. What's easy to miss is just how wild his life was. Almost nobody realized at the time, but he once got into serious trouble with a gang in New York. He owed them a lot of money, around $25,000. The situation got so bad that the gang actually took him. His wife, Whitney, had to step in and pay a massive $400,000 to get him back safely. Living through that kind of stress would age anyone. Bobby's life was a whirlwind of trouble. But the next star on our list wasn't in trouble with gangs. He was just working himself so hard on stage that his body literally gave out. 2. Keith Sweat. If you had a slow jam collection in the 90s, you had Keith Sweat. He was the master of the R&B ballad. With hits like Twisted and Nobody, he dominated the charts. He was always on tour, performing his heart out every single night, living up to his famous last name. But all those years on the road, all those late nights in different cities, have left their mark. Keith Sweat today looks much older than you'd expect. His face is covered in deep wrinkles and his skin looks weathered and tired. He doesn't have that smooth, youthful glow he was famous for. He looks like a man who has been running on empty for a very long time. You see, his dedication to performing was intense. What many don't know is that during one of his tours in the 1990s, he pushed himself to the limit. He was so exhausted from the non-stop schedule that he actually collapsed on stage in the middle of a show. Medics had to rush in and help him. It just shows how hard he pushed his body for his music. That kind of exhaustion, year after year, will catch up with you. Collapsing from work is one thing, but our next star had his entire life, and his looks changed forever by a single violent crash. 3. Aaron Hall. As the lead singer of the group Guy, Aaron Hall was a powerhouse. He was a key figure in the New Jack Swing era, blending R&B with hip-hop beats. He was tough, he was talented, and he had a unique voice that cut through everything. He had a very distinct, muscular look that fans loved. But if you saw Aaron Hall today, you might not even know it was him. The man we see now is a shadow of his former self. His physique is much smaller, and his face is deeply lined. He looks like a man who has been through significant hardships, and that's because he has. The swagger and energy are gone, replaced by a look of sadness and weariness. The thing nobody tells you is that his life took a dark turn in 1994. He was in a near-fatal car crash. The accident was so severe that it left him with a terrifying condition. For weeks after the crash, he had amnesia. He couldn't remember who he was, his music, or anything about his life. Recovering from that kind of physical and mental trauma is a battle that would change anyone, inside and out. Aaron lost his memory for a while, but the next singer on our list lost something else that changed his life, all his money, even after having huge hits. 4. Case. In the mid-90s, you couldn't turn on the radio without hearing Case. His song, Touch Me, Tease Me, was a massive hit. He was the smooth, handsome singer with the soulful voice. He followed it up with other hits like Happily Ever After and Missing You. He seemed set for a long and successful career, but then he took long breaks from the music industry. When he returned, fans were shocked. The smooth-faced singer was gone. Today, Case has a much more rugged look. His facial features look harder, and his body is softer. The long years away from the spotlight and the stresses of a fluctuating career have clearly taken a toll on his appearance. What many fans didn't expect was what was happening behind the scenes. Despite having multiple gold records and #1 hits, his finances were a mess. What's easy to miss is that the music business is tough. In 2017, Case had to file for bankruptcy. He was living in a modest home in Atlanta, trying to get by on royalties. The stress of losing a fortune and trying to stay relevant is a heavy burden, and it shows. It's sad to see the money go. But what about a man who literally invented a new type of music and then just disappeared into his studio? 5. Teddy Riley. Teddy Riley isn't just a singer, he's a legend. He is the father of New Jack Swing. He produced hits for everyone, from Michael Jackson to Bobby Brown and his own group, Blackstreet. Teddy was the man with the golden touch, the genius producer who was always in the studio, creating the next big sound. But being a genius who never sleeps comes at a cost. Today, Teddy Riley looks exhausted. His skin often looks saggy, and his eyes carry the weight of decades of sleepless nights. The man who was once the young, energetic face of a new musical movement now looks tired and worn down from the marathon of his own success. The stories about his work ethic are wild. Almost nobody realized at the time, but he would lock himself in the studio for days on end when he was working on Michael Jackson's Remember the Time. It's said he stayed locked in the studio for 72 hours straight. He wouldn't come out, he just worked and worked until the song was perfect. That kind of relentless pace for decades will age a person faster than anything. Teddy locked himself in, but the next star on our list locked his own family out, starting a massive and very public feud. 6. Brian McKnight. For decades, Brian McKnight was the king of the R&B love song. With a smooth voice and incredible songwriting talent, he gave us classics like Back at One and Anytime. He was the clean-cut, handsome crooner, the perfect gentleman of R&B. He seemed to be aging gracefully, living a quiet, private life. But in recent years, his appearance has changed. His face looks fuller, and there's a different kind of tension in his features. It's not just the normal signs of aging, like crow's feet. It's a look of stress. This change seems to have happened right around the time his private life became very, very public. What many fans are crazy about is the shocking drama with his own family. A few years ago, Brian McKnight had a massive public falling out with his first 2 children. He basically disowned them on social media, sparking a huge family feud that shocked his fans. The man who sang all those songs about love and family was now at the center of a bitter public battle. The stress of that kind of family breakdown would put a strain on anyone. A feud with your kids is messy. But the next singer had to escape his entire family, a situation that some have described as a cult. 7. El DeBarge. The DeBarge family was R&B royalty in the 80s, and at the center of it all was El DeBarge, the lead singer with the angelic, high-pitched voice. He was the family's biggest star, a true heartthrob. His smooth vocals on hits like Rhythm of the Night made him a superstar. But if you look at El DeBarge today, it's heartbreaking. His face is gaunt, and his cheeks often look sunken. He looks frail and much older than his years. His eyes look like they've seen too much. This is the physical result of a life spent battling intense personal demons. What many overlooked is the darkness hiding behind the family's happy songs. El DeBarge has been very open about his long and painful battles with unhealthy habits. He has been in and out of rehab programs for years, trying to get his life back on track. What's more, he described his family dynamics as cult-like and very controlling, a situation he had to escape. The combination of that pressure and his personal struggles has left a permanent sad mark on his face. El's family life was out of control, but the next star's personal life was so wild, it ended with a very public and embarrassing arrest. 8. D'Angelo. In the late 90s, D'Angelo was on top of the world. His album Voodoo was a masterpiece. He was more than just a singer. He was a symbol. He was incredibly handsome, muscular, and had a mysterious, brooding energy. The music video for Untitled, How Does It Feel?, where he appeared nearly nude, cemented him as a global icon. Then he vanished. After the Voodoo tour, he disappeared from the public eye for 14 years. When he finally re-emerged, he was a different man. The chiseled, muscular icon was gone. He was much heavier, and his face had a hardened, weathered look. The years of rumors about his personal battles seemed to be confirmed by his appearance. The pressure of being that icon was too much for him. He hated it. To put it mildly, his fall from grace was fast. In 2000, right at the height of his fame, he was involved in a very public and embarrassing incident that got him arrested. It was a clear sign that he was not handling the fame well. That public incident was the beginning of his long retreat from the spotlight, a retreat from which his looks never fully recovered. D'Angelo's public incident was shocking, but our next star had to survive a truly terrifying and violent event that changed her life. 9. Faith Evans. Faith Evans was the first lady of Bad Boy Records. She had a voice that was pure soul, mixing gospel power with street-smart R&B. But her life was defined by drama. She was married to one of the biggest rappers in history, the Notorious B.I.G. Today, Faith Evans carries the sadness of her past with her. Her eyes often look puffy and tired. Her face, which used to be bright and youthful, now looks heavier and marked by trauma. She has endured more tragedy than most people can imagine, and it's impossible for that not to show. The loss of her husband in a public and violent way was a trauma that would haunt anyone forever. But what many people don't know is that her life was in danger even before that. In 1995, she was in a car that was targeted in a drive-by incident meant for her husband. She survived by hiding under the car. Imagine living with that kind of fear. It's a miracle she's still here at all. The trauma of those years has clearly left a lasting physical and emotional impact. Faith survived a terrible scare. The next man on our list, however, willingly walked away from it all, turning down millions of dollars. 10. Montel Jordan. This Is How We Do It. That song was, and still is, a massive party anthem. Montel Jordan was a giant of a man, standing 6'8", with a smooth voice and a fun-loving image. He had a string of hits in the 90s and seemed to be enjoying the R&B lifestyle to the fullest. But if you see Montel Jordan now, you'll notice a big change. It's not that he looks unhealthy, it's that the glow of the R&B stardom is gone. He looks more like a regular person, a dad, which is exactly what he is. His skin has lost that polished shine, and his style is completely different. Here's the kicker. His change was a choice. In 2010, Montel Jordan quit the music industry. He said he heard a divine voice calling him while he was mid-concert. He turned down a new $10 million record deal and walked away from the fame, the money, and the lifestyle to become a pastor at his church in Atlanta. He chose a different path, and his appearance reflects that total life change. He left the R&B world behind for good. Montel found peace. But the next star, a true 90s icon, found only stress, leading to huge weight changes and endless court battles. 11. Ginuwine. Ginuwine was the ultimate 90s R&B heartthrob. With his muscular body, his smooth dance moves, and his massive hit Pony, he was at the top of the A-list. He was the definition of cool, and his career seemed unstoppable. But the years have been very stressful for Ginuwine. Today, his face is often puffy, and his hairline has receded significantly. The man who was once a symbol of 90s cool now looks tired and stressed out. His body has also gone through major changes, which he has been open about. What many overlooked is the emotional toll his life has taken. After his parents both passed away, he fell into a deep, dark period. He lost an incredible 100 pounds, and his health was in a bad place. He managed to bounce back, but then he went through years of stressful custody battles with his ex-wife. The stress of the court battles and family drama caused him to gain the weight back, and the strain of it all is clear to see. Ginuwine's stress came from his family, but the next two stars are brothers, and their shared lifestyle almost destroyed them both. 12. JoJo Haley. As one half of the duo K-Ci and JoJo and a member of the legendary group Jodeci, JoJo Haley was R&B royalty. Jodeci was the bad boy group of the 90s. They partied hard, lived fast, and made incredible music. JoJo's soulful voice was a key part of their sound. But that hard-partying bad boy lifestyle was not just an act. It was real, and it had serious consequences. Today, JoJo Haley's appearance is shocking. His eyes often look hollow and sunken, and his face is gaunt. He looks like a man who has been battling serious health issues for a long time. And he has. His fast lifestyle, especially his problems with heavy drinking, caught up with him in a terrifying way. In 2019, he was on stage when he suddenly collapsed. He just passed out in the middle of the show. He was later diagnosed with liver failure. He has been fighting to regain his health ever since. The man we see today is a frail reminder of how dangerous that bad boy lifestyle truly was. JoJo's collapse was a terrifying wake-up call, but his own brother, K-Ci, was also haunted by his own health scare. 13. K-Ci Haley. K-Ci Haley was the other lead singer of Jodeci and K-Ci and JoJo. Like his brother JoJo, he had one of the most powerful and recognizable voices in R&B. He was the rougher, more intense voice to his brother's smoother sound. And just like his brother, he lived the Jodeci lifestyle to the fullest. The non-stop touring and the wild parties of the 90s have also taken a clear toll on K-Ci. His skin often appears uneven and weathered. Like his brother, he looks much older than his actual age. The years of hard living have left a permanent mark, a tiredness that he can't seem to shake. What many fans didn't expect was the darkness behind the parties. Jodeci's 90s parties were legendary for being out of control, but this lifestyle led to a terrifying moment for K-Ci. In 1996, a major health scare spread like wildfire. A rumor about a serious illness began to circulate, and it haunted him for years. Even though the rumor turned out to be false, the fear and the stigma stuck with him, adding to the stress of his already chaotic life. The Haley brothers went through it all. But our next star had a different kind of secret, one he kept hidden for his entire career. 14. Tevin Campbell. 15. Usher is, without a doubt, one of the biggest stars on this list. From his debut as a teenager to his massive Confessions album, he has been a dominant force in R&B and pop for decades. He's known for his slick dance moves, his chiseled abs, and his seemingly ageless appearance. But even Usher is human. In recent years, he has started to look different. While he's still incredibly active, he has a bulkier, heavier frame than he did in his prime. The non-stop demands of being a global superstar, a business mogul, and a father are starting to show. What's easy to miss is that his life hasn't been all smooth sailing. He has his own share of trauma. As a child, he nearly drowned in a pool. He credits his survival to his faith. But as an adult, the drama has continued. In 2020, he was at the center of a massive $10 million lawsuit filed by his ex. That kind of public, high-stakes legal battle is a huge source of stress that would weigh on anyone, even a superstar like Usher. Usher is a solo star, but the next singer was part of a legendary group known for their harmony and their backstage fights. 16. Johnny Gill. Johnny Gill has a voice that is pure power. He was a successful solo artist before he was famously brought in to join New Edition, replacing Bobby Brown. His strong, deep vocals were a perfect addition, and he helped propel the group to new heights. He was handsome, dapper, and always looked smooth. Today, Johnny Gill is sporting gray hair and a softer jawline. The sharp, youthful features of his New Edition days are gone, replaced by the more comfortable look of an R&B veteran. The passage of time is clear on his face, but almost nobody realized at the time just how chaotic his group life was. New Edition was famous for their slick choreography, but behind the scenes, they were infamous for their brawls. The group would get into massive backstage fights. In the 1980s, the tension was so high that it led to a legendary knife fight with his own bandmate, Bobby Brown, over a woman. It's hard to imagine that kind of chaos, but it was their reality. Those brawls were legendary. But our next star, the queen of hip-hop soul, had a dangerous run-in that was anything but a simple fight. 17. Mary J. Blige. Mary J. Blige is a survivor. She is the undisputed queen of hip-hop soul. She burst onto the scene with a raw, honest, and powerful sound that mixed soulful singing with her tough, real-life experiences. Her music has always been about pain, struggle, and overcoming, and her face shows the map of that struggle. Mary J. Blige often has a rigid, tense appearance. She looks like a woman who has had to be on guard her entire life. She has been very open about her traumatic childhood and her battles with personal demons and unfaithful partners. All that pain and trauma have given her a hardened look. What many overlooked is just how dangerous her life has been. In the year 2000, she was in a frightening situation where a fan attacked her. The fan reportedly mistook her for a rival. This wasn't just a case of an overeager fan. It was a dangerous attack that led to Mary J. Blige suing for $10 million. Living a life where you have to be on guard, even from your own fans, creates a tension that never leaves you. Mary's encounter was scary, but the next star's problems came from a different kind of fan, one who told a massive lie in court. 18. Sisqó. In 1999 and 2000, you could not escape Sisqó. The lead singer of the group, Dru Hill, went solo and exploded with the Thong Song. With his platinum blonde hair, his acrobatic dance moves, and his flashy style, he was the center of the pop universe. He was everywhere. But that level of fame is hard to maintain. When the hits stopped coming, the stress set in. Today, Sisqó looks very different. His face is often puffy, and his cheeks look swollen. The lean, energetic performer has been replaced by a man who looks tired and stressed out. The pressure of being a one-hit wonder, though he had other hits, the Thong Song was his biggest, was one thing, but he also had to deal with the crazy side of fame. In 2004, he was dragged into a very public lawsuit by a fan. The fan claimed that Sisqó was the father of her child. It was a huge scandal that followed him everywhere. Eventually, A DNA test proved the claim was completely false, but the damage and the stress of the public battle had been done. Sisko's lawsuit was just stress. Our next star's story, however, is one of the most tragic and shocking in all of music history. 19. Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston was, quite simply, the voice. She was one of the most beautiful and talented women in the world. From her start as a fresh-faced model to her reign as a global pop and R&B queen, she was the picture of elegance and grace. But the final years of her life were a public and heartbreaking tragedy. Her appearance became frighteningly thin and emaciated. Her face, once so bright and full of life, became gaunt and hollow. Her eyes lost their spark. It was clear to the entire world that she was in the grip of powerful personal demons and an unhealthy lifestyle. The stories from her final years are shocking. What's easy to miss is just how far she had fallen. According to her ex-husband Bobby Brown's own book, her unhealthy habits were so out of control that there was a shocking incident at the White House. During a visit in 2000, she allegedly brought her problems with her. It's a sad and shocking story that shows just how deep her struggles were. Her tragic passing was the final chapter in a long public decline. Whitney's story is heartbreaking. But our final star on the list went so far off the deep end, it led to a dark and terrible crime that landed him in prison. 20. Rick James. Rick James was the king of punk funk. He was a wild, flamboyant, and incredibly talented artist. With hits like Super Freak and Mary Jane, he created a sound that was all his own. He lived a life of total excess, and his image was all about beads, braids, and non-stop partying. But this was not a lifestyle that leads to aging gracefully. Before he passed away, Rick James's appearance was a shadow of his former self. His features were sunken, and he looked frail and sick. The decades of his punk-funk lifestyle had completely destroyed his body. What many don't realize is just how dark his life became. In 1991, his fast lifestyle crossed the line into serious criminal behavior. He and his girlfriend were involved in a terrible, days-long incident where they harmed a woman. It was a horrifying event that had nothing to do with music and everything to do with a life spiraling out of control. For that terrible crime, Rick James served 5 years in prison. He was never the same, and his body finally gave out, a victim of his own extreme lifestyle.
1. Marvin Gaye. Many people are crazy about the music of Marvin Gaye. He was called the Prince of Soul for a reason. With songs like What's Going On and Let's Get It On, he gave the world a voice that was as smooth as silk. He was a superstar who could make you think about the world's problems in one song and make you want to dance in the next. To put it mildly, he was a musical genius. But behind the scenes, his life was far from perfect. He struggled with personal demons and had a very complicated relationship with his father, Marvin Gaye Sr. The two of them had clashed for his entire life. On April 1st, 1984, the day before his 45th birthday, that lifelong conflict reached a horrifying end. Marvin was at his parents' house in Los Angeles, a home he had bought for them. An argument broke out between his parents, and Marvin stepped in to defend his mother. The fight escalated, becoming physical. What happened next is a tragedy of biblical proportions. Marvin's own father walked into his bedroom, grabbed a handgun, and confronted his son. He fired the weapon not once, but twice, at close range. The first shot was devastatingly final. Marvin Gaye, the Prince of Soul, was gone. The thing nobody tells you is the most chilling detail of all. The weapon his father used was a pistol that Marvin himself had given to him as a Christmas present, meant for protection. A family argument ending in such a way is a nightmare. But what happens when the source of danger isn't a family member, but a total stranger in a place where you should feel safe? 2. Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke was one of the first true soul superstars. With a voice that could melt butter and a string of hits like You Send Me and A Change Is Gonna Come, he was on top of the world. He was more than just a singer. He was a smart businessman who started his own record label, giving him control over his own music, something that was almost unheard of for a black artist in the early 1960 seconds. He was charming, handsome, and had everything to live for. His future seemed limitless, but on a cold night in December 1964, that future was stolen in a grimy $10 a night motel in Los Angeles. The story of what happened that night has been debated for over 60 years. The official report says that Sam Cooke, in a state of undress, broke into the motel manager's office in a rage. The manager, a woman named Bertha Franklin, claimed she feared for her life and used a handgun against him. He was only 33 years old. But not all things are what they seem. Many people who knew Sam Cooke, including his family and friends like Muhammad Ali, never believed the official story. They said he was not a violent man and that something else must have happened. What many overlooked is that Cooke was with a woman earlier that night who later gave conflicting stories to the authorities. To this day, many believe he was the victim of a setup, a robbery that went horribly wrong. We may never know the full truth of his final moments. The mystery surrounding Sam Cooke's end is haunting. But the next story on our list is a tragedy where there was no mystery at all. Just a clear, terrifying accident seen by the whole world. 3. Aaliyah. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, Aaliyah, or Aliyah, was the undisputed princess of R&B. She was a triple threat. She could sing, she could dance, and she could act. With her unique style and futuristic sound, she was changing the game. At just 22 years old, she had already sold millions of records and was starring in major movies. She was on the verge of becoming one of the biggest superstars on the planet. Her future was as bright as it gets. In August of 2001, she flew to the Bahamas to film a music video for her new song, Rock the Boat. The shoot was a success, and the video looked beautiful. The plan was to fly back to Florida the next day, but they wrapped up early. So, the team decided to get a head start and fly out that evening. They loaded all of their heavy equipment and luggage onto a small twin-engine plane. The thing nobody tells you is just how dangerously overloaded that plane was. Investigations later found it was carrying at least 700 pounds more than its maximum allowed weight. The pilot himself had a troubled history and was not even authorized to fly the plane. Moments after taking off, the plane struggled to gain height. It tilted to one side, then plunged straight down, exploding on impact just 200 feet from the runway. Aaliyah and 8 others were gone in an instant. Her promising career, a light that was just beginning to truly shine, was put out by a completely preventable tragedy. Losing a star in a plane crash is a sudden, horrible shock. But for our next artist, her final moments were captured on film, a permanent and chilling record of her own tragic end. 4. Lisa "Left Eye" Lopes. Lisa Lopes, better known as Left Eye from the superstar girl group TLC, was the fiery creative force behind the band. She wrote many of their biggest hits and was known for her quirky style and outspoken personality. TLC was one of the best-selling female groups of all time, with massive hits like Waterfalls and No Scrubs. But after years in the spotlight, Lisa felt the need to get away and work on herself. She was on a spiritual journey to find peace. In the spring of 2002, she traveled to Honduras for a 30-day spiritual retreat. She brought a camera crew with her to document her experiences, hoping to make a film about her journey of self-discovery. For weeks, she filmed herself exploring the country and talking about her life and her beliefs. On the evening of April 25th, she was driving a rented SUV with 7 other people in the car. The camera was rolling from the passenger seat. As she tried to pass a slower vehicle, she had to swerve to avoid an oncoming truck. She lost control of the SUV. The vehicle veered off the road and flipped over several times. Believe it or not, the camera captured the chaos of the final seconds. Lisa Lopes, at just 30 years old, was the only person involved in the accident who did not survive. Her quest for peace had ended in a moment of sudden, recorded violence. The tragedy of Lisa Lopes's end is that she was actively trying to heal her life. The next story is about a brilliant musician whose mind was betraying him, leading to a final, desperate fall. 5. Donny Hathaway. Donny Hathaway, or Donny Hathaway, was a musical prodigy. His voice was rich and full of emotion, and his work with Roberta Flack, like Where is the Love, made him a household name. He was a brilliant pianist, songwriter, and arranger. Many considered him to be a genius, a man whose talent knew no bounds. He seemed to have it all, but behind his incredible musical gifts, he was fighting a terrible battle within his own mind. Donny had been diagnosed with a serious mental health condition that caused him to experience intense paranoia. He would often feel that people were trying to harm him or steal his music. His behavior became unpredictable, and it put a strain on his career and his relationships. In January 1979, he was in New York City working on a new album. But his paranoia was getting worse. He was acting so erratically that his estranged wife flew in to try and help him. On January 13th, after a recording session, he went back to his room on the 15th floor of the Essex House Hotel. What happened next is a heartbreaking mystery. Investigators found that the glass from his window had been carefully removed and was leaning against the wall inside the room. There was no sign of a struggle. The only conclusion they could come to was that Donny Hathaway had made a final, tragic decision. He had gone through the window, ending his story on the pavement below. He was only 33 years old. The loss of a great artist to their own inner darkness is a unique kind of tragedy. The same can be said for our next star, a powerful singer who made a similar choice just hours before she was due on stage. 6. Phyllis Hyman. Phyllis Hyman, or Phyllis Hyman, was a singer with a voice that could stop you in your tracks. She was tall, elegant, and possessed a deep, commanding vocal range that was perfect for both soulful ballads and upbeat dance tracks. She was a star of the stage, earning a Tony nomination for her work on Broadway, and a beloved figure in R&B, with hits like You Know How to Love Me. To her fans, she seemed like the definition of grace and power. But underneath that strong exterior, Phyllis struggled for years with depression and substance use. She was also frustrated with the music industry, feeling that she had never received the level of stardom she deserved. On the afternoon of June 30th, 1995, she was scheduled to perform a sold-out show at the legendary Apollo Theater in New York. Her fans were lining up, excited to hear her incredible voice. But Phyllis would never make it to the stage. In her apartment, just hours before the show was set to begin, she decided she could not go on. She penned several notes to family and friends, and then chose to end her own life by taking a lethal amount of sleeping pills. Her passing sent a shockwave through the R&B community. A voice that was supposed to fill one of the world's most famous theaters that night was silenced forever by her own hand. A personal battle ending so tragically is one thing, but what happens when the one who ends your life is your own brother, your musical partner, in a dispute over the very business you built together? 7. Roger Troutman. If you listen to music in the 1980 seconds, you know the sound of Roger Troutman. He was the leader of the funk band Zapp, and was famous for using a talk box, an effects pedal that made his voice sound robotic and funky. That unique sound was behind huge hits like more bounce to the ounce, and was later sampled by countless hip-hop artists. Roger and his brothers, Larry, Lester, and Terry, had built a musical empire together. They were a family band that had found incredible success. But by the late 1992, that empire was beginning to crumble. Cracks were forming in the family foundation. Roger wanted to move on from the family business, but his older brother Larry, who was also their manager, was having financial problems and wanted to keep things going. The disagreement grew more and more heated. On a Sunday morning in April 1999, the argument reached its breaking point. Larry went to the recording studio where Roger was working and confronted him. He used a weapon on his own younger brother in the alley behind the studio before fleeing the scene. A few minutes later, and just a few blocks away, authorities found Larry in his car. He had turned the weapon on himself. It was a horrifying end to a family legacy. A story of two brothers, once partners in music, ending their journey together in the most violent way possible. A brother turning on a brother is a shocking betrayal. The next two stories on our list are about two of the biggest names in music history. Rivals whose lives were both ended by a hail of bullets in a feud that defined an era. 8. Tupac Shakur. Tupac Shakur, or Tupac Shakur, was more than just a musician. He was a poet, an actor, and a powerful voice for his generation. He was one of the most charismatic and controversial figures in music history. His albums sold in the tens of millions, and his influence is still felt today. But his career was defined by a massive and public feud between his West Coast record label and their rivals on the East Coast. This war of words and music would eventually turn deadly. On the night of September 7th, 1996, Tupac was in Las Vegas. He had just attended a Mike Tyson boxing match and was riding in a black BMW with the head of his record label, Suge Knight. They were on their way to a nightclub. Someone from inside the Cadillac opened fire, riddling the BMW with bullets. Tupac was hit 4 times. He was rushed to the hospital and fought for his life for 6 days. But his injuries were too severe. On September 13th, the iconic voice of Tupac was silenced. He was only 25 years old. What makes this story even more haunting is that to this day, the case has never been officially solved. No one has ever been convicted for taking the life of one of music's biggest stars. Tupac's public passing in a hail of gunfire shook the world. In a chilling case of history repeating itself, his biggest rival would meet a nearly identical fate just 6 months later. 9. The Notorious B.I.G. Christopher Wallace, known to the world as the Notorious B.I.G., or Biggie Smalls, was the king of East Coast hip-hop. With his incredible storytelling ability and smooth flow, he was considered by many to be one of the greatest rappers of all time. His debut album, Ready to Die, was a massive success. He was the face and voice of his record label, Bad Boy Records, the main rival to Tupac's West Coast label. The feud between them was the biggest story in music. Just 6 months after Tupac's life was taken, Biggie flew to Los Angeles to promote his new album and to try and calm the tensions between the coasts. The title of his upcoming album was eerily prophetic. It was called Life After Death. On the night of March 9th, 1997, he was leaving a music industry party. He was riding in the passenger seat of a large SUV. As his car sat at a red light, just like in Tupac's case, another vehicle pulled up alongside it. A man in a dark suit fired a weapon into the SUV, hitting Biggie 4 times. He was rushed to the hospital but was pronounced gone shortly after arriving. He was only 24 years old. In a shocking parallel to his rival's case, the passing of the Notorious B.I.G. also remains officially unsolved. The two biggest voices of a generation were both silenced by a phantom gunman on a city street. The violence that took Tupac and Biggie is a dark chapter in music history. But sometimes, tragedy doesn't come from a weapon, but from the sky itself, as a soul pioneer discovered on a foggy winter day. 10. Otis Redding. Otis Redding had a voice that was pure, raw emotion. He was a force of nature on stage, and his songs like Respect and Try a Little Tenderness became anthems of the soul era. By 1967, he was a certified superstar, having just delivered a legendary performance at the Monterey Pop Festival that introduced him to a whole new audience. He was at the absolute peak of his powers, ready to become one of the biggest stars in the world. In December of that year, he was flying to a concert in Madison, Wisconsin, on his private twin-engine plane. The weather was terrible, with heavy rain and thick fog. As the plane approached the airport, something went terribly wrong. The plane went down, crashing into the icy 40-degree waters of Lake Monona. Otis Redding, along with 4 members of his backing band, the pilot, and his manager, were gone. He was only 26 years old. Here is the most heartbreaking part of the story. Just 3 days before that fatal flight, Otis had been in the studio to record a new song he had written. He was so excited about it. The song was called Sittin' on the Dock of the Bay. That recording became his biggest hit and a timeless classic, released after he was already gone. Losing an artist in their prime is devastating. Our next story is about a singer whose health failed her right on stage, in the middle of a duet with one of her closest friends, 11. Tammy Terrell. Tammy Terrell was a rising star at Motown Records. She was beautiful, talented, and had an incredible chemistry with her singing partner, Marvin Gaye. Their duets, like Ain't No Mountain High Enough and You're All I Need to Get By, are some of the most beloved love songs ever recorded. They were a golden duo, and Tammy seemed destined for a long and brilliant career. But in October of 1967, while performing on stage with Marvin in Virginia, something terrible happened. In the middle of a song, Tammy suddenly collapsed into Marvin's arms. At first, people thought she had just fainted from exhaustion. But the reality was much worse. Doctors discovered that she had a malignant tumor on the right side of her brain. For the next 3 years, she bravely fought the illness, undergoing 8 different operations. Her health continued to decline, and she was eventually confined to a wheelchair, weighing less than 95 pounds. Despite her condition, Motown continued to release music with her name on it, sometimes using other singers to complete her parts. In March of 1970, at the young age of 24, Tammy Terrell lost her battle. Her passing had a profound effect on Marvin Gaye, who was so devastated by the loss of his friend that he stepped away from music for several years. A long battle with illness is a slow-motion tragedy. The next artist on our list was a former child star whose life came to an abrupt end as he was trying to make a comeback. 12. Frankie Lymon. Frankie Lymon, or Frankie Lymon, was one of rock and roll's first child stars. As the lead singer of the Teenagers, he shot to fame at the age of 13 with the smash hit Why Do Fools Fall in Love? He had a powerful voice and an electrifying stage presence. He was a sensation, touring the world and appearing on television. He had the kind of talent that seemed to promise a lifetime of success. But the pressures of fame at such a young age took their toll. As he got older, his voice changed, and his solo career struggled to take off. He developed a dangerous habit, a dependence on harmful substances that would haunt him for the rest of his life. By 1968, at the age of 25, he was attempting a comeback. He seemed to be turning his life around, and even had a recording session scheduled with a record label. He was staying at his grandmother's house in Harlem, the same neighborhood where he grew up, but his old demons found him again. On the morning of his scheduled recording session, his grandmother found him on the bathroom floor. He had passed away from a massive and fatal intake of a banned substance. The boy wonder who had asked the world why fools fall in love was gone. A tragic victim of an addiction that started when he was just a teenager. A life lost to addiction is always a tragedy. But sometimes, the battle is not with a substance, but with a disease inside the body, as was the case for a singer with an angelic voice. 13. Minnie Riperton. Minnie Riperton, or Minnie Riperton, had a voice that was truly one of a kind. She was famous for her incredible 5-octave vocal range, which allowed her to hit high notes that sounded almost otherworldly. Her most famous song, the 1975 hit Lovin' You, is a perfect showcase of her unique gift. Her voice was often compared to the singing of a bird, and her music was full of joy and light. But in 1976, at the height of her fame, she received a devastating diagnosis. At just 29 years old, she was told she had breast cancer and that it had already spread. Doctors gave her only about 6 months to live. Instead of hiding her condition, Minnie Riperton did something incredibly brave. She went public with her diagnosis and became one of the first celebrities to speak openly about the disease. She became a national spokesperson for the American Cancer Society, using her fame to raise awareness and encourage women to get checked. She refused to stop working, continuing to record and perform even as her health failed. She courageously fought the disease for 3 years, long past the 6 months doctors had given her. In July 1979, at the age of 31, the singer with the angelic voice passed away. Minnie Riperton's fight was public and brave. The next artist's passing was a private accident, a quiet and sudden end caused by a combination of medicines that were supposed to help him. 14. Gerald Levert. Gerald Levert, or Gerald Levert, was R&B royalty. He was the son of Eddie Levert, the lead singer of the legendary group the O'Jays. But Gerald was a star in his own right. As the lead singer of the group Levert and later as a solo artist, he had a string of hits in the 80 seconds and 90 seconds with his powerful, emotional voice. He was known for his incredible love ballads and was a beloved figure in the music world. Gerald, however, was dealing with a lot of physical pain. He had a chronic shoulder injury and was also suffering from pneumonia. To manage his conditions, doctors had given him several different prescriptions for pain and anxiety. On the morning of November 10, 2006, his cousin tried to wake him up at his home in Cleveland, Ohio, but he was unresponsive. It was too late. An autopsy later revealed the tragic reason why. He had passed away from a fatal combination of the prescribed medications he was taking. It was ruled an accident. The very medicines that were meant to ease his suffering had created a lethal cocktail in his system. At just 40 years old, another powerful R&B voice was gone, not from illegal substances, but from the hidden dangers of prescription medicine. An accidental passing at home is a quiet tragedy. But for our next icon, her final moments happened in a place of luxury, a famous hotel, where she was found in a way that shocked the entire world. 15. Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston was, without a doubt, the voice. She was one of the best-selling artists of all time, a global superstar whose powerful vocals on songs like I Will Always Love You are legendary. She had everything: the talent, the beauty, the fame. For decades, she reigned as the queen of pop and R&B. But her incredible success was shadowed by a long and public struggle with harmful substances. In February 2012, she was in Beverly Hills for the annual Grammy Awards. She was staying at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. The day before the big event, on February 11th, she was found unconscious in the bathtub of her hotel suite. Paramedics arrived and tried to revive her, but it was no use. The official cause of her passing was listed as an accidental drowning. But the coroner's report told a more complicated story. It noted that heart disease and substance use were contributing factors. What many overlooked was a startling detail from the investigation. The water in the tub was found to be 93.5 degrees Fahrenheit, dangerously hot, suggesting she may have lost consciousness and slipped under the water. The Queen of Pop, a voice beloved by millions, had met a lonely and tragic end at the age of 48. Whitney's end in a hotel bathtub was a massive shock. The next story is eerily similar, involving a young artist who was a protege of another star on our list, and whose life also ended suddenly and tragically on the side of a road. 16. Natina Reed. Natina Reed was a rapper and songwriter, best known as a member of the R&B girl group Blake. The group was discovered by none other than Lisa Left Eye Lopes of TLC. Left Eye mentored the group, and they had several big hits in the late 90 seconds, including 808 and Bring It All to Me. Natina was the fiery, energetic rapper of the group, much like her mentor. She also had some success as an actress, appearing in the hit cheerleader movie Bring It On. After the group's success faded, Natina's life became more private, but the parallels to her mentor, Left Eye, would continue in the most tragic way imaginable. On the 26th of October 2012, just 2 days before her 33rd birthday, Natina was walking along a highway in Georgia. According to reports, she was on her cell phone and stepped out into the roadway. A car struck her. The driver immediately called for help, and it was determined to be a tragic accident, not a hit and run. But the damage was done. Natina Reed's life was over. The eerie similarity to her mentor Lisa Left Eye Lopes, who also passed in a vehicle-related incident, was not lost on fans. It was another promising life, connected to a legacy of tragedy and cut short on the asphalt. A sudden accident is one way a life can be cut short. Our next story is about an artist who collapsed suddenly after what seemed like a normal day, his passing caused by a silent killer. 17. Heavy D. Heavy D was the overweight lover of hip-hop and R&B. As the leader of the group Heavy D and the Boys, he was a major star in the late 80 seconds and early 90 seconds. He was known for his positive lyrics, smooth dance moves, and his large and in-charge personality. He had huge hits like Now That We Found Love, and was a beloved figure who blended rap with soulful melodies. Later in his career, he focused more on acting and producing. In November 2011, he seemed to be on a high. He had just delivered a fantastic performance at the BET Hip Hop Awards. On November 8th, he returned to his home in Beverly Hills after a shopping trip. As he walked up the stairs to his condominium, he suddenly began struggling to breathe. He managed to tell a neighbor to call for help before he collapsed. He was rushed to the hospital but passed away shortly after. Everyone was shocked. He was only 44 and seemed to be in good health. The cause was later revealed to be a pulmonary embolism, which is a blood clot in the lungs. To put it simply, it was a sudden medical event that can happen to anyone. The thing nobody tells you is that it is often associated with long periods of inactivity, like a long flight. Heavy D had just returned from a flight from Europe. His final message to the world, posted online just hours before he collapsed, was the simple positive phrase, "Be inspired." A sudden medical event can take anyone. But for our next legend, his final chapter was the result of a long, slow decline in health that he battled for years. 18. Luther Vandross. Luther Vandross was the master of the romantic ballad. His voice was so smooth and velvety that he was called the Velvet Voice. For more than 3 decades, he was the king of R&B love songs, with countless hits like Never Too Much and Here and Now. He sold over 40 million records worldwide and won 8 Grammy Awards. His music was the soundtrack for weddings, anniversaries, and romantic evenings for an entire generation. But behind that incredibly smooth voice, Luther was fighting a lifelong battle with his health. He struggled with his weight for most of his life, and this led to him developing both diabetes and high blood pressure. In April 2003, he suffered a major stroke at his home in New York City. The stroke was severe, leaving him in a coma for nearly 2 months. It also took away much of his ability to speak and sing. He would never fully recover. Although he was able to attend the Grammy Awards in 2004, where he won 4 awards for his song Dance with My Father, he was confined to a wheelchair and was unable to give an acceptance speech. For 2 years, he continued to struggle with the effects of the stroke until July 1st, 2005, when he finally passed away from a heart attack. He was 54. The master of the love song was gone, a victim of a long and difficult health battle.